How's it going, guys? Cody Bertrand here, and welcome to the first episode of the 2020 season. I will be trying to capture, hopefully, all of my tournaments this year. I'm fishing both divisions of the Bassmaster Opens, trying to qualify for the 2021 Elite Series and hopefully the Classic. That is the goal. Last year I tried to do a bunch of videos, but it didn't really come together. So this year I'm really going to try to commit to it and get as many videos as I can and capture as much of the season as I can. This is definitely probably one of the most competitive years of the Opens that I've ever seen, as far as just the field and how much talent is really competing this year in the Opens. So real exciting year, and there's actually 3 ways to qualify this year if you're fishing both. They are actually taking 4 guys from the Eastern divisions and the Central division, and there's also a third option that they're doing if you fish both. I believe there's 52 guys fishing both divisions, so they're also taking 4 guys from the overall field of 52 guys that is fishing both divisions to the Elites. So pretty exciting, and I actually just found this out at the first tournament at the meeting. First place in for the AOI winner out of the 52 guys also gets a 10 grand bonus. So that is huge. I think that's courtesy of Falcon Rods. They're putting that on. So a lot of exciting stuff happening, and I just wanted to go through my first tournament with you guys. I just got back from the first stop of the Eastern Opens on the Kissimmee Chain of Lakes, and I did pretty good. I ended up having a top 20 finish. I finished 16th out of 225 guys, and just want to break down my days a little bit for you guys. So this right here will be day 1, and yeah, let's roll it.
Good luck, guys. Be safe. We're looking forward to a great year. This is just day 1 of many great days here on the BassPro.com Bassmaster Eastern Opens. The Skeeter, that's the other side of that Phoenix. Cody Bertrand in 20, behind the Stratus. Guy Akers, 21, you're behind the red nitros, guy. Last boat, flight number 1, check-in time of 3 p.m. Boat 22. I'm coming in.
3 o'clock.
All right, pull that kill switch. Yes. That'll work.
Yes, dude. Now we're getting somewhere.
That'll work.
God, I thought that was big. Dude, he cracked it. Dude, they're on this chatterbait right now. I knew something changed. I was like, dude, they're not on that freaking. So after day one, I actually had one more upgrade that I made later in the day, and it was about a 3-pounder, and I called out a 2-pounder. So big time upgrade for me, a whole pound, and it put me right at 1710 for day one, and I ended up in a 3-way tie for 8th place after day one. So pretty exciting, sitting in the top 10. I was stoked, and definitely still had a lot of work to do. So I didn't get as much footage as I'd like for day two, so I'm gonna just kind of walk you through how day two went. We pretty much just rolled up to my first spot, and I caught a 2-pounder, and my coinger ended up catching an 8-pounder. So I really like to have that one, but it is what it is. When you're offshore fishing hydrilla like that, that kind of stuff can just happen. You know, you can't really defend what you're doing. So just one of those things. I was still really happy for him. It was a huge fish, and it just solidified that I was doing the right thing. I was around the right fish, so I just stayed confident knowing that if I just kept doing what we were doing, everything should work out and I'd get the bites I need. So as the day went on, it was significantly slower than day one. I mean, you've seen day one, it was pretty fast and furious for the first hour and a half, and then I just get 1 or 2 bites every now and then. I think I literally only got 5 to 6 bites on day two, and I ended up with, it was 12:30. I had a 4-pounder, 2 3-pounders, and a heavy 2-pounder, and I had 1 1.5-pounder that really didn't look like he was going to make it. It was really just starting, the eyes were getting cloudy, starting to go belly up and stuff. So, and it was 12:30, and I was doing it at 5:15. So I really didn't think it was going to make it, and I knew the quality of fish that I put myself around. So I thought it was best for my tournament to let that fish go while it was still alive. I confirmed with my coinger that it was still alive. It was completely legal, but it didn't have long. So I went ahead and let that fish go, and I just left it up there. I just left it up to chance that I could definitely maybe get a fit fish, even if it was just a 2 or 3-pounder. Because what happens is if you have a dead fish in your bag or in your live well, you cannot call that dead fish. So if I catch another 2 to 3-pounder, instead of throwing back a 1.5 pounder and making a good significant upgrade, I have to throw back either a heavy 2 or a 3-pounder, and that hurts me even more if I didn't let it go. So it was a choice I felt like I had to make. It's just one of those deals where I was just thinking about winning, because I knew I was literally 1 fish away from either putting myself in top 5 or in contention to win. So it is what it is, but it was a really, really eye-opening tournament, just as far as putting a pattern together, offshore hydrilla, and I'll get into that a little bit more, but I got a few more little clips here, and then I'll go into break down what exactly I did during the tournament. You want help?
Yeah, I do.
Oh my God.
Good job, dude.
Thank you, brother.
Good job. That's like a 7, 8-pounder.
Which side?
This side.
This side's mine.
Yeah. Good job, dude.
Thank you.
Good job. Did he hit it hard? That's how my bites up there are too. Good job, bro. So for this tournament, as far as what I did, I went there about a week and a half early, and we had a little bit of a cold front, and a lot of times when you get those cold fronts, it'll pull them out just to bring them back in for when it warms back up, and it looked like it was going to set up to be a really big big time slugfest tournament, and it never really happened. Like I found a lot of beds, but I hardly even found a fish. I think I found one fish on a bed, and it was like a 2.5 pound male. So in my mind, I figured I just broke it down into segments. If they're not on the beds, maybe they'll be, in a little secondary pads or Kissimmee grass or whatever. So I did the swim jig, chatterbait, flipping pads, whatever. Never could really get that going either. I think I found like maybe one area that had some amount of chatterbait around some pads. And it just didn't feel right. I knew like something wasn't right. So I went offshore, milled around some offshore hydrilla, and I ended up finding like voids in the grass in about 7 to 8 foot. And in these voids, you'll just have these big big expansive hydrilla flats. And all of a sudden there'll be, a hole or a void, and it'd be about 7 to 8 foot with some shell in a clean spot in the grass. So, and on top of that, there'd also be little pods of either bait or crappie holding there, and that's where I found a couple groups of fish. And I had a milk run of that, about 4 to 5 different spots like that, and literally last day of practice is when I pretty much found everything, because the tournament was a Wednesday through Friday tournament. Usually it's Thursday through Friday. So on Tuesday, the last day of practice, it was like the last hour of daylight. I was coming in, and I found one of the spots, and I caught a 3-pounder, and I said, all right, I'm just going to roll with this for last day of practice. And no, I'm sorry, that was on Monday night. So Tuesday, I rolled with that, and I ended up finding 3 or 4 spots just like it, and I caught a 7 and a 4-pounder, and then I shook off a couple, I think 3 or 4 other that felt really big. So as far as what I did to break that down is just as far as covering water, I used, depending on the wind too, because it got really windy a few days. So when the wind wasn't as bad, I was going with a 3/8 ounce jackhammer chatterbait, and when the wind would pick up a little bit, I'd go to a 1/2 ounce, and I was putting a 3.8 inch Eco Pro Tungsten swing shad and Tennessee shad on the back of that. And I tried a couple different trailers, but it always seemed like I'd come back to this paddle tail style trailer in Tennessee shad, and they just seemed to get it a lot better, and I got a lot more bites in practice doing it. So that was my deal as far as covering water and locating a few fish. And then once I would get 1 or 2 bites in these little voids in the grass, I went to a Zoom Magnum trick worm in June bug, and I had that pegged on a 1/4 ounce Eco Pro Tungsten bullet weight with a 4/0 EWG Yamagatsu hook. So I know some guys aren't too big on the EWG, but I haven't had any issues with it. So that's how I like to rig the worm, and I was just really slowly pulling it through, just almost dragging it, pulling it through the holes in the grass. And I also had one other spot that was kind of patchy hydrilla, and I just pulled it through there, and that was getting a lot of bigger bites. So because I noticed a lot of people were power fishing through some areas, and I just decided to slow down, and that got me a couple of really key bites throughout the tournament. And that was majority of the bread and butter was the chatterbait and the worm. But one thing I did notice in practice that I actually never caught a fish doing it, I just kind of gut instinct on what I wanted to do, and I just kind of ran with it, was a spook style bait. This is actually a Strike King Sexy Dog in bone color, and why I chose this was because in practice, over some of these voids in the grass and stuff like that on these flats, I'd noticed like bass blowing up, and I'd see them clear. They'd come clear out of the water, blowing up on some bait, whether it was crappie or bait fish or whatever, shiners. They were blowing up and schooling, and it was really quick, little sporadic, sporadic just moments where they were blowing up. But I figured, man, if I could get a spook on those fish during the tournament, and maybe it might turn into something. So literally on day 1, I think I had 4 fish in the box, and a big one just blew up like a cast away from the boat. So I really quick reeled in my worm, set it down, threw this thing out there, and I ended up catching the fish, and it was my biggest fish of the tournament. It was a 5.3, and that was my biggest fish of the tournament. I tried it a little bit on day 2, but it was, that schooling deal doesn't last long. If you don't get the bait on them like right when it happens, it didn't seem like you could get them to bite. So that was my whole thing. And yeah, so ended up 16th place, set myself up really good for the long-term points in the season. So Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to like and subscribe, comment, send me, message me if you got any other questions, and yeah, man, thanks. It's gonna be a fun season. We got Louisville coming up next in Texas, so in April, so that's gonna be a fun one. So stay tuned, guys. Hope you guys enjoy the year.